to the making of culture, working against national modern common sense of an inherited civilizational essence that was Indian. This, as you all know, especially those who come from India, was the key feature of how one thinks about culture and Indian culture in the colonial context, whether it's what the colonizers are saying or whether it's what the colonized take up as a way of promoting their uniqueness. So now quickly then to move to the other part of my discussion here. This task of drawing attention to the making of culture, we undertook at first with conventional academic tools. The physical hard copy library, the physical archive, we were just using these, right? We realized very quickly how expensive it was for a small research institute, a precarious research institute, to use the other popular word of the evening, to maintain an adequate library, and how other institutions refused to share the resources. They really hated to do that. We also realized what a painful process it was to access government-owned and private archives across the country. Although this heroic work was done by every single one of our postgrad students, as evidenced by the remarkable dissertations. Partly as a response to some of the difficulties of accessing libraries and archives, CSCS became involved in what is today being called maker culture. I share Megan's anxiety about calling organic beauty products maker culture, right? It spans everything: pesticide-free vegetables, DIY homes, etc. But one of its meanings is connected to the world of hacking and software development. And I suppose it's today called that, and when I first encountered the term, I said, what is that? Without realizing I was doing it for 20 years. So digital archive building, this was like a major experience of CSCS from 1999, and you see the evidence of this in this repository. It was driven partly by scarcity. As I said, that we couldn't build a library to match a United States library, a university library. So we believed in digital sharing. I'm happy to share the link with you, and I could give it to the department to circulate perhaps, and you could take a look at your leisure. The second bit of work I did, which brought me into the kind of work I do at Lingnan, is the work with Indian languages and with the institution, the Wikipedia. So I was Indian languages advisor to the Wikipedia for a few years, and encountered there the bizarre question of community. As it was presented to me, the community there was a closed entity. It wasn't community as I had imagined it in cultural studies or in gender studies, where we are trying to, or thinking through the question of community versus capital, like Samanapato Chatterjee has been promoting. It wasn't that. Community there was a bunch of geeks who stay up all night, who have free internet access, and who hack, right? Not even hack, sometimes they're just fighting each other on Wikipedia. So the Indian contributions to Wikipedia are completely pathetic. And the Indian language contributions are even more pathetic, because the people who control these communities ensure that no one else can join the community. So I would go and get young students in many different institutions across the country. I've conducted workshops to get them to enroll on Wikipedia. And the moment they wrote an entry, especially on something contentious like a Dalit writer, within minutes that entry would be taken down. That's all people who are sitting around waiting for controversial things to emerge, and they start taking it down. So that I felt was really a losing battle. I finally decided I would exit that Wikipedia scene, although I continue to contribute in different ways. So the challenge for building knowledge resources, which I felt were, like what happened there, but what I learned from the Wikipedia experience and conducting workshops all over India is to say that one needs to find ways of legitimizing sources and genres of writing, of making them accessible. And questions of translation, like if it's not in English, how do you even recognize it as something that you cite or something that you can put into your bibliography when you're writing a thesis in English? All of these things I feel I'm taking forward from that experience. How much time do I have?
You have another 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I just want to say quickly about inter-Asia challenges for building knowledge resources, because I think they're related. That it does seem to me that, especially in the 90s, the focus was much more on translation of various kinds. Cultural translation, working with cultural difference across our network. A lot of our energies were absorbed by that, especially for me, because I don't speak Chinese and I didn't have the kind of access that you or Chen Guanxin would have had to the more East Asian communities, right? We could not take any shared references for granted. So building that base of shared material was our primary task in the early years. The digital interface, I kept wondering why that never emerged. It didn't even emerge as a mediation to make this repository available. I think it's because we were all in different places.